This isn't just a fun.
This means everything.
The £1 million game. The £1 million game.
Well, Wakefield have been in this situation before, and most famously when they had to beat Castleford in 2006 to preserve their top flight status. That year they survived, but this is the £1 million game for a place in Super League next year. And that's exactly where the Bradford Bulls believe they belong. No trophy here, but the prize could not be any bigger for two famous old clubs. And the two sides in the tunnel waiting to come out. Danny Kermond on the left of your screen leading Wakefield, and Adrian Patel leading the Bradford Bulls. It is such a massive match, this. Wakefield have been planning for this day since April the 11th, when they were beaten 80-0 at Warrington. They finished 11 points adrift of the rest after 23 weekly rounds in the first Utility Super League. The Bradford Bulls are here in numbers, the original pioneers of the Super League dream, relegated 12 months ago. The big question today on this sunny day in October: can they get back at the first attempt? You cannot underestimate the size of the prize for these two sides. A place in the sunshine next year, or a place in the championship battling to get out once again. Barry, Terry, Phil alongside me, Stuart Cummings as well, who will be giving us an insight into what the referee is thinking during the course of the game. Gentlemen, it's not as big as last night or on Thursday when there was a place in the grand final itself at stake, but Terry, for these two clubs, it's massive.
It most certainly is, Eddie. You look at Bradford, you look at Wakefield, as you quite rightly say, that Wakefield, after they suffered that defeat by 80 points back in April, they've been looking at this game and they put in all their eggs in one basket. They knew that they were going to be challenging against the side from the lower competition, and the side that's turned up is Bradford. A big plus for Bradford. They brought 9 players back in, which they rested last week, and Lee Gaskell, who came back from injury last week, he played 20 minutes to prove his fitness. Well, he's here on the ground that he got injured. And round 2 of the qualifying games, they were beaten here by 48 points to 18. Can they recover and beat this Wakefield side?
Well, I can tell you the fans are all asking themselves the same question on our way up to the gantry. I spoke to numerous fans, Bradford and Wakefield, and particularly the Bradford fans who've had so many highs. You think about some of those fabulous teams, and the finals and the big games that they were involved in the 90s and the noughties. A number of the fans from Bradford were saying they haven't felt as nervous even when they were in those big games. So lots of tension, lots of pressure. We're in for a cracker, Eddie.
We should be. It is the £1 million game, and if you use your calculators and have a look what that means, it is £12,500 per minute here today. We're underway, and let's see who wants the biggest prize that is available to these clubs in 2015. Bradford with the first use of the football, and a good chase in the kick-off by the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats, led by Joe Arundel, led by Danny Washbrook. And Bradford here now will have the devil's own job in trying to get out of their own quarter. When we were here in the opening rounds of these qualifiers before the £1 million game, the game was over really before Bradford got started. Yeah. They cannot have a beginning to a match like that again.
Yeah, you're right, Eddie, and they were took apart in the middle. The forwards were totally out-muscled. They were bullied by Wakefield, and they're going to be up against a real physical Wakefield side. But all you need to do is make sure you get through your couple of sets of 6 early on in the game. Don't make mistakes, don't give that field position away, and just get a feel for the game.
Gareth O'Brien is waiting at dummy half. They're just inside their own half of the field as they've reached the last tackle. The kick downfield is by Harry Syker, and that will stand. Oh, I thought it was going to stand in the in-goal area, but it won't. It goes over the line. Jordan Tangi retrieves it from behind the sticks and will bring it to the 20-metre line.
Eddie, again, it could be look like a negative play, but again, you just have a little look where Bradford are. They're all set, they're all nice and tight in defence, they're talking to each other, and Wakefield had to get back behind the 20-metre line to bring this ball forward. That's a good run from Michael Simon.
Yes, Michael Simon, the French international. And it's important that men like Chris Anakin make runs like that early on for Wakefield. As I say, they really did take Bradford apart when we were here earlier in the qualifying campaign. This now is Nick Scruton, who of course once upon a time was a big favourite at the Bradford Bulls. 250th career appearance for them in the home win in August. Good take though in defence by the Bradford fullback Jake Mullaney. He could be a star today.
Well, that's a good set of 6 from Wakefield. All the forwards landing on the front, which enables the kicker to get the ball away where he wants, and Bradford trapped near the sideline. They need to get the ball centre field, split this Wakefield side.
This will help. It's a penalty for offside. Wakefield too quickly out of the blocks to play the ball. First penalty of the match, and it goes the way of the Bradford Bulls.
And both teams, you can see them in the blocks, ready to get up, trying to dominate the forward, trying to stop that go forward momentum of their opposition. There's been some hefty collisions so far.
They have, so Bradford, oh, that's not the best pass though. Harry Syker bends down low, picks it up, and he will try and bring the ball forward here for them. They played in Super League for the Wakefield Wildcats. That now is Adam Sidlow. Sidlow is halted just 15 metres away from the line. Lee Gaskell, Championship Player of the Year. Good ball to Matty Blythe. Good defence though. Tremendous defence that was from Bill Tupu.
Well, Adrian Patel, one of the standout players for Bradford. He tries to get on the outside of Tupu and then just gets pushed into the touch. This is really too simple for Wakefield. They had the numbers there. It was easy defence for them. And Bradford, well, they need to ask more questions. And if you look at the halfbacks in Harry Syker and Gaskell, they've got players that can cause problems. On the other side, you look at Jacob Miller, Peter Godney, no Tim Smith, no Kevin Locke. I think there's pressure on those halfbacks because those halves for Wakefield are normal runners of the ball. They're individuals. Can they play as part of a team today?
Yeah, it's not the best build-up for Wakefield in the week leading up to this important game. Both Tim Smith and Kevin Locke have left the club in somewhat acrimonious circumstances. This is Tupu making the first drive, and now Rhys Lynn, who himself not long ago was out of the side while an internal investigation took place. It has been a strange old season for the Wakefield Wildcats, that is for sure. But Brian Smith, brought in by Michael Carter, the chairman, to get them into this match and more importantly keep them in Super League. Will it be mission accomplished for him at the end of this here today? Miller gets a good ball away meanwhile to Washbrook, and Bradford managed to get him down, but he releases the ball back to Miller, and Miller tries to weave his way through. He's beaten one, he's beaten two, but he won't beat Sidlow. And so CO is the dummy half. This is the last tackle. Peter Godinay with a kick out wide to the right hand side. It's knocked forward, and Danny Williams has picked that ball up for Wakefield, but it was a knock-on in the first instance.
Well, that's the second time Peter Godney chose to go to Wakefield's right-hand side, challenging Danny Williams, whether he thinks that Tupu or Rhys Lynn may have the jump on him. But it's definitely a side that they're looking at. They're favouring that side with the kicking game.
Adam O'Brien was the dummy half, got the ball away. He's back in there again as Patel plays the ball to him. And Matty Blythe tries to work it forward for the Bradford Bulls. Beaten here 18-48 7 weeks ago. Can they turn that round and claim their second Super League scalp? They beat Salford 41-10 on August the 23rd. If they do, it would more than justify this new system that the game has brought in to decide promotion and relegation in 2015.
A bit too much weight on that kick from Lee Gaskell, but you could see the tactics. He was behind the 40-metre line. He was hoping for one of those nice bends on the kick, give his team some field position.
Blythe and Nielsen doing the job on Arundel's run. Well, it's a better start than it was 7 weeks ago for Bradford already. 6 minutes we are here and still 0-0. And that's a high shot. It was far too high on Chris Anakin, so it's a penalty here to Wakefield.
Doesn't he run strong, Chris Anakin? He's very short and stocky. He has nice late footwork. I often talk about late footwork and how difficult it is for you to line that player up. If you know he's got good footwork, you're always a bit hesitant. And Chris Anakin, he runs with every ounce, every point of a kg that he's got, he puts into every run.
Well, it was a dark, murky morning, but the sun has come out. It's now a blue sky that's shining down on these two Super League hopefuls. Wakefield trying to cling on to their status. Bradford wanting to get back there. Here is the Frenchman, Mikel Simon, signed from the Catalan Dragons earlier this year. Now the dummy half is the Samoan. Michael Sio gets it to Miller. Miller then finds Scruton, and Scruton is just held up 3 metres short of the line. Danger here for Bradford. It's Peter Godinay. Godinay then gets the ball away to Jordan Tansey. Tansey standing in the tackle. Sio again. Oh, and Danny Kermond off the offload from Sio just put the ball down.
Well, Danny Kermond was thinking of passing the ball before he'd actually caught it. One of the most experienced and one of the better players for this Wakefield side, but you can see they're already going into contact. They're winning those little battles. They're managing to get their arms free, offload the ball, and that could trouble Bradford as you get nearer towards the back end of this half.
Danny Kermond really just back in the side, as you see, after a lengthy layoff, and he is the epitome really of this Wakefield team, 2013 Dream Team member. And it's O'Brien again from dummy half. Lee Gaskell looking to prize an opening. Dale Ferguson now will do the same. He'll trundle the ball up to the 20-metre line.
Yeah, they did. Looking to pass the way out of trouble instead of playing direct. Seeing what Wakefield do, that's better. Go from dummy half, earn yourself a penalty.
Yeah, they didn't retreat quickly enough. The Wakefield forwards, the Wakefield defensive line. Danny Kermond offside.
Well, you can see, Eddie, a couple of markers there weren't set, and it's just too much of a temptation for Kermond just to reach round because they'd lost that collision, because he wasn't set at marker. Easy penalty.
It's good fight from Dale Ferguson as well. He takes the ball and he's another strong squad player.
That's a great carry.
And he's left 2 men on the backsides here, and it's Nick Scruton who I think...
Danny Kermond's the other one.
Picked up a nasty bang.
Well, it was Danny Kermond and Dale Ferguson. Teammates at one point, let's not forget. Having a little tussle, left edge against right edge. And the intensity in this carry from Ferguson. Nothing wrong with that.
Do you know, they're two big defenders as well, aren't they? Nick Scruton and Kermond. But the way that Ferguson ran that ball in, there was only going to be one winner. Now it's a fantastic carry.
This is a concern for Brian Smith, because Danny Kermond only just back after being out for 12 matches with shoulder damage. Thought his season was gone, was back for this £1 million match, and they need the leader out there if they possibly can. I thought it might have been a clash of heads, but I don't think it was at all.
There doesn't look much in it, but Danny Kermond, he might be down, but he's not out. How many times have these fans seen that fella get back up, get himself back in the line and crack on with his job?
So the tackle count will continue after that penalty. This is tackle number 2 coming up, and Sidlow drives it in for the Bulls. Gets to his feet. Play to O'Brien. Here now is Harry Syker. Syker, good ball across the line, and that finds Albison. Scampers in again, does O'Brien. Into centre field. And this is Gaskell. Can he weave some magic? Finds Patel. Patel gets the offload away, hits the ground, but it's picked up by Gaskell. Desperate defence here from Wakefield, and they pull him down just 3 metres shy of the line. Up to the 4th tackle. Here is Syker again, looking for the runners. And it's that man Mullaney who ducks under one challenge that went a bit high from the standoff Jacob Miller. We've reached the last. Matty Blythe. Blythe with the looping pass to Syker. He drifts the kick in, or attempts to. Not the best. It was well done on that occasion by Michael Sio.
Yeah, it was a poor kick, wasn't it, from Syker? But you're seeing the threat from Jake Mullaney, the fullback, and also from Lee Gaskell and Adrian Patel in the build-up to that play. He needed to thread that through maybe a bit quicker, so the gap was there. But this is where the battle's going to be won for Bradford. If Bradford want to win this game, they need to be better defending this area. They need to put an awful lot of pressure on Wakefield, making them and forcing them to kick early, because they're not making any metres.
Got an 8 dummy half, and Simon had to stretch for that. Gives it then to Sio. Sio has Danny Addy in front of him, and Paul Clough came in to add a little bit of weight as well. The right on halfway as they've reached the last tackle. So Miller with the kick, that ricochets off ahead, and it's played at, says the referee. No, he didn't. I'm sure he shouted played at.
He said not played at, which meant that anyone that was in front of the kicker was offside. So had he played it, he would have been played back onside, but he's ruled that he didn't play at the ball.
I missed the word not, obviously.
Well, isn't that good pressure?
He was approaching the ball though, Stuart.
Approaching the ball, I think where he's got away with it, he just slightly turns away from the line of the ball and slows down.
So he stopped because he's running at him, and then he stops his run going forward. He takes himself out of that play.
He does in that case. There are obviously different cases, but he just slows down and turns his back. He's not actually making a play of the ball. Had he continued at the same pace, he'd been playing at it.
Okay, so Bradford have gained some valuable metres forward, and here is Dale Ferguson for them again. Lots of pressure coming in from the Bradford Bulls on this Wakefield line. Can they find the opening? They might here with Patel. He's certainly been their star man this year. Adrian Patel, he's captain of the team. And that was Mulaney. Here's Alderson again. Taken low down by Anakin. They're so close to that line. Will O'Brien go on his own? No. He'll give it to Addy, and then a short ball from Syker to Clough, and Clough will keep the legs driving. He's over the line, but he's held up. So it'll go back to the 10-metre mark, and that was tackle number 4, said Richard Silverwood.
Yeah, Eddie, they were caught in two minds. Then they seen Paul Clough hitting a real hard line, so they just opted to pass him the ball.
Not the best from Lee Gaskell. It was knocked on, was it? It was knocked on by a Wakefield hand.
They've got good shape here, Bradford. Whenever they're on those long shifts, they're not designed to get the ball to the outside man. Here's the play from Lee Gaskell. They're not designed to get to the outside man. Every player in motion is expecting the ball, and then by sequence, it will go along the line.
What Lee Gaskell was trying to do then was Adrian Patel come short off his shoulder and just run straight at Peter Godinay. He's obviously targeting the small man with the bigger man. Obviously it didn't come off on that occasion.
And the knock-on coming off the floor by Godinay wasn't touched in flight in the pass. Gaskell will be relieved about that. And here is a chance now for Bradford again. They're camped on that Wakefield Trinity Wildcats line. Back it comes to Syker again. Mulaney, it's opened up for Mulaney, gets it wide. And Matty Blythe, the flying try in the corner, or is it?
That looks like a great finish, that, from Matty Blythe. Absolutely brilliant. I thought he'd blown an opportunity.
First decision coming up here for Phil Bentham, Robert Hicks, the video referees. What's the decision going up to them? They've got no try on the field. So the grounding steward is all they're checking. Where was the ball plumped down on the line?
That's it. Richard Silverwood thinks that he put the ball down on the line. It certainly looked pretty good at first look from where we are, but we're a long way off. Does he retain possession of that ball? I think his hand's still on it. It's on the flag, doesn't matter. Does he come down inside? Oh, wow. Has that got on the ground yet?
I don't think it's Stuart.
I think it's probably got on the touchline before it actually touches the flag. Certainly managed to keep his hand on the ball all the way down. It's all down to whether he gets it on the line.
Good defence by Tom Johnson as well, as he saved the try. He has.
I think he actually gets his hand underneath the ball as well. But what an amazing attempt here.
Very acrobatic. You have to commend Bradford for giving themselves a chance and finding some space, but I'm a big admirer of Tom Johnson. We've seen some amazing long-range tries from him. What a try-saver on that occasion.
And then they've blown an opportunity. It was a 3-on-2. They've gone for the long ball. They've gone to get Matty Blythe out on the edge, but great defence from that man, Tom Johnson.
So Scruton will take it forward once again for the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. It's a grand final and a cup final all rolled into one, this.
Another strong carry from Anakin. And what he does is he forces a lunge from Tom Alderson. Look at him with the knees pumping. And hits him right round the chops.
So penalty here to Wakefield for the high tackle.
And Eddie, because there's not a lot of him, but he's running that hard and that committed. There's a problem obviously with Jacob Miller. Well, because he runs that hard and he's that committed, it's very difficult to put him to ground.
It's a drop of blood that Jacob Miller's got on his jersey. And someone else has got to play the ball here.
He was taking his own ball home then, weren't he? It's my ball, I'm having it.
So it just needs cleaning up. There's Jacob Miller. He's played in all 7 qualifiers and 11 tries in the 14 matches since Brian Smith arrived here at Wakefield for this rescue mission that could come to fruition here tonight. Wasp was almost through then. CO is the dummy half for Wakefield. Now they will come forward with Simon again. And Simon trying to back his way to those posts. He's held up 4 metres short. CO once again looks left and finds Miller. Miller then, not the best pass, and that's hacked forward, but that's going to be 6 to go.
Eddie, there was nothing wrong with the pass. He pulled out the tackle. Dane Nielsen was in his eye line. He pulled away from that tackle.
So Johnson, who saved the try at the other end just a few moments ago.
There you go. There's the eye line. Dane Nielsen, the former State of Origin player.
Nick Scruton drives it in, halted 13 metres away from the line. CO looks for the runners. Miller is one of them. He now is Godinay. Short ball from him. Kermon! Danny Kermon's in for Wakefield. They save the try at one end, they score a try at the other. And Danny Kermon, it looked about 5 minutes ago as if he was in real trouble after a big collision in the defensive line for Wakefield. But he's got up off the floor and he's got on the end of that pass and he scored the first try of this £1 million match. And Wakefield take an early lead.
Makes first blood to the Wildcats. And their full value at the opening 15 minutes have been even Stevens for me. But Bradford, when they've been down in their opposition's try line, have been unable to score. There's the penalty from Anakin. Strong running from the loose forward. Lovely play. Peter Godinay sucks in defenders. And the captain simply strolls through the gap. Good start. And Danny Kermon, like the warrior that he is, gets back up, delivers a jab, a punch, a hook, and has those fans momentarily relieved.
So 4-0, and Joe Arundel here will try and add the extras, which from bang in front he should do with ease. And he does, and so the Wildcats lead here by 6 points to 0. Is the great escape on once more for Wakefield? Has Brian Smith done the job? Can James Lowes conjure up a comeback? And the Wakefield chairman, Michael Carter, no wonder he's biting his nails, because this is a massive, massive day for him.
It is for the club, and that man Danny Kermon scores the opening try. Adrian Patel was caught in 2 minds. What Wakefield did, went out the back, and then hit the lead runner. Adrian Patel was looking at the man coming round the back, which created that space for Kermon to hit a really good aggressive line.
Big Steve Crossley is on, and he's just got his first tackle in on the run that was coming at him from Nick Scruton. And he's involved again there in the second tackle is Crossley. And back to the Bradford Bulls in April did the big fella. And CO from dummy half finds Miller. Washbrook, great ball. And here now is Joe Arundel. 40 metres away from the Bradford line. Not the best pass, it was in front of Miller. So it's picked up by Simon, and he's nearly clear of those two, but they hang on to him. Crossley again, importantly. Reach the last tackle. Miller will hoist the kick. It's a nice one too. It's hanging. Blythe. Arundel gets it. Great ball. Oh, referee says forward. Referee says forward pass. They're celebrating. They've not heard the whistle. They've not heard the whistle. And it's a forward pass. Wow, this is a big call from Richard Silverwood.
Yeah, it is, Eddie. No pressure applied whatsoever onto Jacob Miller, who gets that ball away, and then there's the offload from Tom Johnson to Arundel. Does it drift forward? It's a great take under pressure. Was that? It looks like a line ball to me, Stuart.
Well, it's difficult to see from this angle, but Richard Silverwood is right in line with that. He got himself in line with the kick and was dead in line with the pass, so got to go with his call on that one.
Well, it was very, very confident from Richard Silverwood.
Eddie, well, you talk about confidence. Wakefield are playing on the front foot. Well, he's in a good position, the referee, but they're playing on the front foot, they're defending on the front foot. It all comes around from the offload from Danny Washbrook, which leads them into that decent field position. And Bradford have got it all on here against the team in white that's grown with confidence.
Yes, that try's done them the power of good, but this is a great little run from Adam O'Brien. He really has come through the system of Bradford, Adam O'Brien. Gaskell finds Addy. Oh, is this charged down again? And Kermon's after it, and Kermon gets it. And Kermon has charged this ball down, and it is 6 to go then for the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats.
Eddie said they were defending on the front foot, and Danny Kermon that little 1%, that little effort, and putting pressure on Danny Addy, and then when he turns his back, he still carries on to get that ball.
And the difference between that one and the one that was pinged for offside is that he made a definite move for the ball, even though his back was turned to it.
He did, that's right.
Okay, so that's why Bradford are on the back foot, and Wakefield have reached tackle number 4 as Simon plays the ball to Sio. Anthony Mullally is there as well. This is Nick Scruton, and it's a good job that Dale Ferguson was there. Scruton pulled down. Sio once again finds Miller. This is where they think the trouble is, down this left-hand side. Washbrook. That's good defence though from Bradford.
And that's exactly what they needed on the last tackle.
Turnover.
There's an overfill in the energy bank from Wakefield now. They seem to the team that have got the most energy, the most enthusiasm, and Bradford are clinging on here.
Danny Washbrook having a discussion after that turnover, and the referee saying that he's the man who will do all the discipline at the play of the ball, and Syker plays it. And Matty Blythe, he's got a white wall in front of him.
Well, you know, the 20-minute mark is a significant milestone in the first half. Bradford have been outplayed for the first 20 minutes, but the game can turn very quickly on a penalty and incident like this. They've got to find a way, though, of getting themselves, matching their opponents in the middle of the field, running as hard as Wakefield have so far, and then they're hoping that the man who's going to kick this ball to touch, Lee Gaskell, starts to show the reason why he was voted the best player in this league so far this year. Don't forget, though, he suffered a broken jaw and a very serious kidney injury on this ground 7 weeks ago when he collided with the goalpost. If he can re-find his confidence, he's the spark that could set the balls on the scoreboard.
2 penalties in quick succession for Bradford have helped them from one end of the field to the other. This is a ball steal going against Danny Carmon there.
Eddie, and this is what they needed for that man, Lee Gaskell, to be the one who creates opportunities. They need to be in this area, because he's not going to do it when he's near his own line. He needs to be near the opposition's line.
Another solid run from Dale Ferguson. And Epelhami Luaki is out there now.
Well, he's always big, he's always powerful with his carry. He's looking for that offload.
He's a real handful, he is. So is this fella Crossley. He finds Syker. Syker then to Patel. Patel looking for Miller. And here now is Blythe. That's good defence though. Great defence from Miller, but he still gets the ball away. Mullany once again. Mullany running laterally. Looking and waiting for the opening to appear. Waiting for the opening to appear. Mullany! Great tackling. Great tackle there from Jordan Tansey. Patel. Again, they keep him out. Gaskell decides to take the tackle himself. Anthony Mullally is there very quickly, along with Danny Washbrook, 2 players who will be elsewhere next year. Good kick to the in-goal area. We're going to get another set of 6 here. I think Rhys Lynn had his foot on the whitewash anyway.
That's good stuff from Bradford. Good stuff, a nice kick. No, James Laws is shaking his head, he's not happy with something. But a good chase. Danny Addy, he needs to step up a little bit. Danny Addy, one of the most influential players for Bradford. He does enough to force that goal line dropout. More pressure for Wakefield to absorb. I wanted to ask you, Phil, I'm not sure they've been totally outplayed in that 20 minutes or so. I think they played a lot of the game up this end of the pitch. They've failed to get points, and that will be a worry for James Laws, but I don't think they've been outplayed.
Well, when they've tried to attack on that left, they've thrown the ball and got pushed into touch. They've thrown the ball to the ground and waiting for the attack to spark. Maybe
it will here in the 23rd minute of this £1 million match. You can do the maths as well. You can see how much we've spent already. £12,500 per minute. And here is Gaskell. Gaskell looking for the opening again. Good tackling by Tupu. Quick play the ball though, just what he wanted. O'Brien gets it wide to Patel. And they're so close once again to that Wakefield line. Some of these chances are going to have to turn into tries and points shortly for Bradford's confidence, you feel. Ferguson hangs on.
Sorry, Eddie, they need more depth.
Gaskell evades the first couple. Oh, the ball hits the ground and it was a knock-on by Patel.
Eddie, and the reason why that mistake comes about is because they've not got enough depth. They had 2 penalties on the bounce, then they forced another set of 6, then they get good field position, yet they're just too close. There's pressure on Lee Gaskell. There's always going to be pressure on Lee Gaskell because he's the guy who's going to organise. He's the magician within Bradford's side that can create those opportunities that they need.
And that's the point you're making, isn't it, Phil? They need to be slicker when they've got those chances, and when they put themselves in a position, they need to be slicker, better and more composed.
Well, as I said earlier, there is no trophy on offer here, but boy, the prize is big. The winners will bank the extra £1 million. That's the difference in central funding between playing in Super League next year and playing in the Championship. Mark Green, the Bradford Bulls chairman, Steve Ferris alongside him also. And well, they're all hoping against hope that this will be the day they get back to the promised land, but Wakefield doing all they can, obviously, to maintain their Super League status. And it would be a triumph for Brian Smith if they manage to do that. Brian Smith brought in to stave off relegation. He has lost 4 Aussie Grand Finals and a Challenge Cup final during his long and illustrious coaching career. But this is a big enough prize. And at the moment his team are leading by 6 points to 0.
And what Wakefield have done now as well, they've changed over the front rows. They brought Andy Yates, they brought Anthony Mullally, and they brought Scott Moore onto the pitch. So Scott Moore, very good from dummy half. So what Bradford need to do is concentrate around the middle whenever there's a quick play of the ball.
Scott Moore, another man who we all thought his season was over not too long ago, but there he is wearing number 40 on his back, playing in this, the biggest match in Wakefield's season. And Luaki will take it forward again. Luaki is halted by 3, gets to his feet, plays the ball here to O'Brien, and Danny Addy keeps the movement going. This is Dane Nielsen. Nielsen goes down. Last tackle it is for Bradford, high off the boot of Syker, but nobody's chasing this. Straight into the arms of Jordan Tansey. Oh, is that a shoulder charge, Stuart?
No,
I think he's got in front on, which might have just saved him.
that's absolutely perfect, that from Syker. We saw when he played against Lee the other week, he come up with a similar shot. Do you know, if you have
your big hits, I know that.
Eddie, if your half-back can do that, your forwards need to follow suit. That's a brilliant tackle.
Oh, got in there. Another big hit. Sarkey's down.
Eddie, it's two half-backs. It's Lee Gaskell. So first of all, it's Harry Syker, then it's Lee Gaskell. The halves are leading the way, not only when they have the ball, but in defence as well.
Well, get that one marked down. That is one of the biggest hits we've seen for a while.
Get them two marked down.
Well, sometimes with half-backs, and I'm thinking here of Syker and Gaskell, players will pick them out, they'll run at them. Not that they're weak defenders, they'll want to get over the top of them, get themselves a quick play of the ball, or they might just want to take some energy out of the tank. But Lee Gaskell gets off the line. What's a real shot, or needs to blow his nose, I think.
skysports.com/rugby league. I'm sure you're going to be able to look at these two tackles again then on the website. That's a heck of a hit by Gaskell.
Well, they're leading the way, aren't they, Eddie? And that's exactly what you need. In these big games, you need everyone. It's not just the forwards that need to dominate in defence. It's everyone who's on the pitch. The 13 players that are on the pitch at any one time, you do that.
I must add a rider about that Barry and Terry's big hits feature that appears every week. Some of the tackles you see are perfectly legal. Some of them aren't. Here is Syker. Syker then across the line. It bounced off the chest of Addy, that.
Play on.
What's the referee done? He says play on. Wakefield have given it up because they think it's a knock on. It's come off the chest, I think. It's come off the chest of Addy. He's going to have a look at this again, I'm sure. I bet they'll give a try because they have a try on the field. Has Danny Addy scored here? One of the most unusual tries of the season.
He nearly gives himself away here, Phil, doesn't he? And passes it to the referee or one of his teammates.
Give us the rules, Stuart, would you?
Well, if it's off the head, as long as it's not a deliberate head forward, then it's play on.
That's off the chest or the shoulder.
That looks like it comes off the top of the shoulder, which would actually be classed as a knock-on. Knock-ons all the way from the fingers up to the shoulder. So where does it come from? That looks like it's a shoulder.
So what about if it hits his head and his shoulder at the same time?
They'll have to duck a bit low if that's the case. He's got a bad neck if that's hit his head.
Or Barry's chins. One of Barry's chins,
His
it could
head
be.
and his shoulder.
Well, what we've got to decide here is it off the chest? It's gone up as a try. The video referees have to be 100%.
Tries chalked off. It did come off the shoulder.
He just needed to duck, didn't he?
Well, Wakefield had given it up. Danny Addy didn't.
Well, he nearly gives it up, Eddie, because when the ball comes off his shoulder, doesn't come off his head, comes off his shoulder, he nearly passes it to the referee.
That might be the next play, the next move they focus on. Touch somebody's head and everybody stands still.
It's this one here, from Syker off the shoulder.
Well, there you go. The game's a game of inches.
So Bradford close, but not close enough. And Wakefield breathing a sigh of relief. They lead still, 6 points to 0. If I remember rightly, though, after half an hour last time that Bradford were in town in August, the game was over. They were way ahead of them at this stage, Wakefield. Terry's desperately looking through his notes to see just what the margin was.
No, I wasn't looking for that,
Oh, weren't you? I thought you were.
No, I wasn't looking for that. Notes.
This is it's called research. This is Reece Lynn.
It's been a contest and they've stayed in the contest, and as Phil's already pointed out, they're not slick, they're not getting it right, but they're giving themselves a chance.
Scott Moore on the last plays the ball. And here is Kermond, whose try separates the two sides. Mullaney is content to let that go touching goal. He's got a shove in the back for his pains too from the Wakefield skipper.
Well, they've got 12 minutes to go here, Bradford. You can't concede a try.
It was Tupu who gave him the shove in the back. I apologise to Danny Kermond.
I'm sure he'll forgive you, Ed. Luaki's looked powerful, hasn't he, since he's come onto the pitch? He's got rid of a couple of players when he's carrying the ball. He's landing on his front.
This is the man for Bradford, though, if he can get it sorted. Nielsen takes over from Gaskell. He's come back into the side at just the right moment for James Lowes. Addy, who had the try disallowed just a few minutes ago. Rightly. And a long kick downfield from Syker is over the head of Tanzi. It's a great kick, this.
I bet Tanzi won't be running at Syker.
He is.
Oh, he tries it
He tried it again, did he?
Harry Syker played Super League for Wakefield Trinity Wildcats last year.
I think Bradford players,
sorry, Phil, off you go.
They know that Bradford's best chance, in games like this, if you can get your best attacking players to want to be your best defenders, you've got a chance, because it will inspire the rest of the team. And Harry Syker, Lee Gaskell have lifted some effort and certainly intensity in their defensive commitment, trying to force the ball free. But a penalty then just relieves what I felt was building here now. Wakefield have slowed down. They're not playing this game as quickly as they did at the start.
Good offload from Ali Lauatiti to Andy Yates. Crossley and Luaki deal with the threat. Scott Moore is the dummy half. Come down this left-hand side on this occasion with Mullally. Anthony Mullally, who is on his way to the Leeds Rhinos next year. And Andy Yates, signed from Leeds just before the transfer deadline, takes it forward once more. Now Washbrook. Washbrook spins away from one. Addy gets to him. Good job he did as well. Quick play, the ball needed. Oh, and a mistake by Scott Moore. At dummy half, just fumbled the ball and took all the pressure off Bradford. That's an escape for the Bradford Bulls. Just a little fumble at the play the ball.
They did need that, Eddie. They were on the back foot. They weren't set. Jean-Philippe Bale, the number 17 for Bradford, missed a sitter of a tackle. They've got to make sure they're better than that.
Well, we're asking ourselves, what do Super League coaches do when they have a day off? Brian McDermott, who guided the Leeds Rhinos to the grand final last night in the victory against St Helens, is chatting there to Brian Smith's little brother, Tony, and it's Leeds against Wigan in the Super League grand final next Saturday at 5. Nice to see that the family is behind Brian Smith in this bid to keep Wakefield back in Super League for next year.
Well, you'd be struggling if your brother wasn't backing you, wouldn't you be, Eddie?
Well, I don't know, I haven't got a brother. And
if you had a brother, he wouldn't back you, don't worry.
No, I don't think the sister would either. I've not got one of them. So Bradford here. Drive in once more by Tom Alberson. Missed last week one of the 9 changes that James Lowe's made, and they came unstuck big style against Halifax. Mind you, Wakefield the following day came unstuck big style against Sheffield. Two sides coming into this match at the back of defeats. Ball from Mulaney finds Matty Blythe, but he finds Patel rather, but down he goes in the tackle. And here is Gaskell again. Jean-Philippe Bale from dummy half gives it to Danny Addy. The call was from Luaki. They found Saika instead. Saika gets the ball away straight into the arms of Ali Lauatiti. And Big Ali has not got the strength and the legs he used to have. And Matty Blythe gets him down. And Ali Lauatiti, with the dance of the flying swan almost, was looking for a penalty that never came.
Eddie, there was a huge gap. Then all Saika had to do was run straight in the play-up instead of running to the touchline. That was just far too easy for Wakefield. And then the panicked offload, the field position that they're getting now, and now they get a penalty and they could go for 2.
Well, what Crossley with a high shot on Andy Yates.
What a great break from Ali Lauatiti. Andy Yates collecting one round the neck. I can remember, I think it was 2004, Ali Lauatiti.
10 years ago.
2005.
A year out, Barry. Good memory, but a year out.
2005 away at St Helens. Big Ali Lauatiti almost got us the win, got us the victory that day. And he hasn't got the pace or the speed in those old legs.
Looks
but
like
a good
he might
attempt.
have pulled a muscle as well with that run. Well, it looks like they are going to go for the 2 points here. That's on offer. Joe Rundle is the man who's going to take the kick. Goal against Sheffield last week. 5 goals in the win against Halifax here 2 weeks ago. And the man who had 12 games on loan at Bradford last year. And a Rundle. Can he just increase this lead from 6 to 8 with coming up to 6 minutes to half time on the watch? Well, we saw last night in the Super League semi-final, didn't we, that St Helens took a penalty to get an 8-point lead. And it looked as though it was going to be gold for them, but in the end they came up with silver, and Leeds won that match in the end. Bradford will be hoping that's the case here today. Arundel with the kick, and he's missed it. He has missed it, Joe Arundel. How furious with himself he is too. 6-0 it stays then.
Anyway, well, they nearly gifted 2 points. I feel they could have scored 6 points just as Joe Rundle just pulls this wide, and it's a let-off for Bradford, because from this play of the ball, when Saika gets hold of this ball, there's a big gap. All he has to do is straighten that play up, get Ali Lauatiti interested, and they could have scored themselves.
So a let-off, and Mullally takes the ball forward here for Wakefield, gets it to the halfway line after the 20-metre restart. Decent little run from Scott Moore, but to Godinay, down that right-hand channel again. Kermond. He does symbolise what Wakefield Trinity Wildcats are all about, does Danny Kermond. Godinay drops the ball off again to Andy Yates. Gradually getting themselves into the danger zone for Bradford once again here, Wakefield, with Godinay, and now Miller. Miller looked for a pass wide, and he went down on the last tackle, 10 metres away from the line. Moore and Tansey slides the kick in. Nice kick too, collected by Blythe. That will do for Wakefield. That's good pressure from the Wildcats.
Well, as I said earlier, Eddie, that they just look to be building in confidence. When Jordan Tansey gets that ball, he's played in some of the biggest games in Super League. A man with an awful lot of talent. He knows exactly what to do, turn the opposition around and just build that bit of pressure, put that doubt in the mind. And a fabulous talent, hasn't he, Jordan Tansey?
I must say both sides are performing admirably, considering they were beaten last weekend. At Wakefield, for instance, they lost at Sheffield last Sunday, 24-10. People will tell you there was nothing riding on it, but they were 10 down after 25 minutes, 16-10 down at half-time, and of course Sheffield producing only the second Super League defeat to a Championship club in those middle eights.
Well, this is a massive minute here now for Bradford to keep the hopes alive before half-time, and in this game, in fact. A lot of teams practice this, a goal line dropout, They know they've got 6 players from which to attack. That looks like 3 of them have gone. They're in a great position here now to extend the lead. They have the player who can unlock the defence.
Cooper was the man who played the ball. Here is Scott Moore. This is Andy Yates. And Andy Yates goes down on tackle number 4, according to Richard Silverwood. Moore is in there again, finds Jacob Miller. And Miller with a short ball to Big Ali. And Ali Lawatiti goes down on tackle number 5. Moore once again. Miller gets it into the arms of Big Mullally. Back it comes to Miller. Dab to the in-goal area. Mullaney is there. Mullaney tidies up the danger for Bradford.
Well, there it is, Phil. Bradford have passed that particular examination. They're going to have to keep going. And Wakefield throwing everything at the Bulls. A long way to go to their opposition try line.
Matty Blythe trying to chew up the metres, but going down on tackle number 3. 14 metres from his own line. Having a terrible job getting away from their own end of the field here, Bradford. It'll have to be a kick. And it is from Gaskell to get them out of trouble. Straight though into the arms of Tansey. He will bring it back.
Well, they needed that kick. They needed more depth on that kick. But when Matty Blythe took that ball in, it was a very strong run, but he run to the sideline, which made it easier for the Wakefield side, because all they did, they compressed. So the next carry for Bradford was going to be difficult, and it proved that way. And the kick from Gaskell just wasn't deep enough.
This is Arundel. This is Tom Johnson. Moore waiting. Finds Washbrook. Bradford fans shout for a forward pass. Wasn't, according to the referee. Washbrook goes down. Tackle number 4. Scott Moore comes the short side with Ali Lawatiti. Lawatiti good on his feet, gets the hand free. Can't offload the pass though. Last tackle here for Wakefield. That's how close they are. Moore to Washbrook. Washbrook looks inside him and finds Miller. Goes for a 1-pointer. Miller. Oh, it's a shocker. It's a shocker.
It's like a bag of cement. Obviously Jacob Miller realising how close this game is, how it potentially could end up. Every point at a premium.
Patel taking Godinez back a few metres towards his own line. Kermond is there for support. Jean-Philippe Bailin at dummy half. Blythe approaching the last minute of this first half. Wakefield ahead 6-0, as tight as we thought it might be. Dale Ferguson, good run.
That is a good read from Dale Ferguson as well, picking out one of the smaller men, which means he lands on his front. That's a high shot.
It is a high shot by Scott Moore.
Well, Adam Sidlow, he must be 6'4", 6'5". But that man Scott Moore will obviously go straight up around the net. Got 6 more tackles here with a minute to go before half-time. Wouldn't this be brilliant if they could score, make a real contest in the second half?
It would, and here they go again with Adam Sidlow. 40 seconds remaining in this first half. Harry Syker. Back it comes to Gaskell. Gaskell then finds Patel. It's a good ball to Dane Nielsen. 10 metres away, wants to play quickly, does so. Danny Addy straight at the man underneath the posts. Chance maybe to complete this set. Chance maybe to get over for the try. It's Syker. It goes wide. And this is Dale Ferguson. And Ferguson gets within millimetres of the line. 10 seconds remaining in this first half. Wakefield trying to slow the play, the ball down. Going nowhere then was Williams. This is the last of the holding him down, That should be a penalty. Well, they've got them to half-time. There was a little bit of a schmozzle on the ground there. Wakefield, they wouldn't let him up and play the ball. James Lowes marches away towards the dressing rooms. He wants his players in there as quickly as possible. Wakefield, they're halfway there. They're leading by 6 points to 0. Quarter of an hour, the only try of the match from the captain, Danny Kermond, converted by Joe Arundel. And disallowed tries, 1 to Wakefield, 2 to Bradford. Tight, you wouldn't expect anything else in the £1 million match. The £1 million match, we're at the halfway stage, and Wakefield Wildcats have got, well, 1 foot back in Super League next year. They lead by 6 points to 0 against the Bradford Bulls of the Championship. Kermon and Arundel, the point scorers. And it's time now for words of wisdom from both coaches. Brian Smith, brought in to stave off relegation. He knows his team have won just one of their last 4, 30 points to 12 against Halifax 2 weeks ago. They've lost here to Salford, Hull KR and Widnes. The Vikings winning 46-6. Bradford, well, having produced a big upset against Salford, who was soundly beaten by Halifax a week ago, 52-18. Halifax benefit to the tune of £300,000 as a result of that. It was a huge win for them. This would be a huge win for the Bradford Bulls. Can they get it? They've got to come from behind, fellas, at half-time.
Eddie, well, there's nothing in this game, just the 6 points, the 1 try. They've had their opportunities, they've had some field position, but just chose the wrong option. On this one, it goes upstairs to the video referee. Matty Blythe can't get the try. And when Wakefield have had those opportunities, they go out the back, and then you hit a tight runner in Danny Kerman, who goes in and scores the opening try, and the only try of the first half on 15 minutes. And again, field position, the kick goes up. Tom Johnson, he's brave, he contests for that ball. It's brought back for a forward pass to Joe Arundel. And you can see here from the referee's view that it just drifts forward by a couple of centimetres. But this is what you want. This is what big games are all about. Those big shots from the halfbacks. The first one from Syker.
And then Lee Gaskell, not to be outdone, comes in and absolutely slots Peter Godinay, dislodging the ball. And I think the Super League side, they'll be happy with the decisions they've made when they've been under stress. They've made the correct decisions, and that try was pulled back. Danny Addy, it hit him on the shoulder or neck from that penalty. Andy Yates was hit high. The 2 points, they weren't taken. And then the attempted drop goal from Jacob Miller, that didn't go over either. 3 points that they didn't get, Eddie. Will they come to regret that?
Eddie, and if you look at the stats, 12 offloads from Wakefield against Bradford, and that's the second phase that's really catching Bradford out, taking that energy off them. The completion rates, well, both of them are completing high, and you think they would because it's absolutely perfect conditions here.
It is perfect conditions. It's an excellent afternoon, and it's going to be a happy afternoon for somebody. Will Wakefield dodge the trapdoor again, just as they did against Castleford in 2006? It's only a 6 point lead though. Bradford and James Lowes know they can come back. Well, this is the £1 million match. This is the multi-million pound match. Next Saturday, Super League's grand final, the climax of 2015. Leeds against Wigan, 5 o'clock, live, Sky Sports 1, next Saturday. Here we are 40 minutes away from knowing which of these two teams will be involved in Super League next year. Bradford getting the second half underway, courtesy of Danny Addy. And what their supporters will be worried about is the fade-outs that they've suffered over the past few weeks in these qualifiers. They conceded 40 unanswered points in the second half last week in the defeat against Halifax. Obviously, they cannot let that happen again.
Eddie, you'll only have to look at 3 of the last 4 games. They conceded 42 points versus Widnes, 36 points without reply versus Hull KR Halifax, and this is what they need. They're looking at Wakefield, they're looking what's in front of them. They've made a mistake here as Anthony Mullally gets up to play the ball. He doesn't plant it, he loses the ball, and there's a big problem. There's a huge problem with Ali Lawatiti. And I think the big man will be coming off now. He's tried to run it off. The injury to his hamstring, which is heavily strapped. And Michael Simon, well, it looks like he's the man to replace him. That's a huge lift for Bradford, because that man can create a try out and often, he can create space out and often. He pulls in 2, 3, 4 defenders. You think you've got him, you think you can take him to the ground, but then obviously he can't. And what he can't make the substitution yet until this scrum has been formed and until the ball's back in play.
Well, Lauatiti packed down in that scrum. He's gone over to the left-hand side. Now he's looking to this side to see whether he should come off, and he does. He limps his way off the field. Simon comes back on, but meanwhile here comes Dale Ferguson for the Bradford Bulls. That's a blow. I don't think we'll be seeing Lauatiti again before the end of the match, and I think that I'm right in saying this is his final game of his long and illustrious career. This is his last match in a rugby league jersey, so that's the end of Ali Lauatiti. Been a great servant to the game. This meanwhile is Lee Gaskell. Back it comes from him to Addy.
It's a classic example of how Bradford's attack not good enough. They've passed it to a player who's got almost 3 of his own teammates in front of him when he receives the ball. They've now lost the ball and they play the ball, and it's a very difficult thing for them to turn around. The timing of their attack isn't good enough. Can they switch that on? It's very, very hard here now, midway through this match, to function with the fluency that's required to score some points.
Phil, I'll go back to what I said in the first half. They need more depth. They need more depth to attack the line, because they're not pulling players out. Danny Addy's caught in two minds. He goes into that tackle. There may have been a hand in there from Wakefield, but he's got to keep a tighter hold onto that ball.
So Wakefield escape, and Tupu will try and bring it forward here for them. Tupu in centre in the last 8 matches.
Another big run from Wakefield. Bradford just sitting back on the heels defending.
Miller trying to prize an opening, gets to halfway and gets the penalty. Does Miller, because he was more enthusiastic to get up off the floor than the man who was doing the tackling.
And it's Danny Addy as well who's coming back here. Alberson's all over Jacob Miller. Danny Addy just getting a touch frustrated as well. The man who made the mistake close to Wakefield's line. And it's quite sad really the way that career finishes for such a good player in Ali Lauatiti. Would have liked to have played it, got Wakefield back into Super League. He's been a fabulous servant for not just Wakefield but for Leeds Rhinos. Great servant to Super League.
Indeed so. Chev Walker as well, the Bradford skipper. He is done for the year at the end of this. He would love to see his team back up into Super League at the end of the season, if possible. There's a long way to go yet. Oh, it is a stroll in for Anthony Mullally, and that could be the killer blow, perhaps even as early as this, at the start of the second half. Bradford's heads have suddenly gone down, their support has suddenly gone quiet, and Anthony Mullally, who came up with the mistake that gave Bradford an opportunity at one end, ends up on the end of the pass at the other and scores the try. 10-0 Wakefield.
Well, isn't this just too easy? Here's the penalty. You can see Alberson all over Jacob Miller, trying to help his teammates get back, get set. And when Scott Moore goes from dummy half, you see Dale Ferguson. He's looking at the man who's coming out of the back with a skull cap, Peter Godinay. You get your bodies in front, and there wasn't a hand laid on him. That's poor defence.
Michael Carter, the Wakefield chairman, celebrates with the supporters. He has been nervous as a kitten all week about this, because it's such big bucks, such big stakes for him, and the gamble, if it be called a gamble, of bringing Brian Smith halfway around the world, might just be paying off. And Jordan Tansey is the kicker right in front of the Bradford post. While all that was going on, I was looking at the Bradford players behind the line. There was nobody really rallying the troops, shouting, bawling, pointing, pushing, shoving. They look a little dispirited, and I might be misleading everybody, I might be misreading the situation, but they look a bit dispirited at the moment. And Tansey adds the extras. It's now 12-0.
Eddie, that was the point I was going to make. James Laws, he was absolutely fuming with his side last weekend against Halifax. He accused them of waving the white flag and giving up, and he said, if I've got players like that in my team, I'll get rid of them, because I don't accept that. It's a big period for Bradford now.
Eddie, and coaches who are like James Laws, yeah, we'll concede some tries, go around us. You don't come through us though like that. Get your bodies in front, look to whack the opposition. If someone the size of Anthony Mullally's running short, off a hooker, close to the line, you've got to hit him. Get in front of him.
Listen, it's not what happens, it's what you do about it, and that's what Bradford need to focus on right now. They've still got a chance here with over half an hour left and only 12 points behind to win this game and put themselves back into Super League next season. But they need to improve obviously on what they've done so far. When they're making tackles here now, I think the meters made after contact by a lot of the Wakefield players, as in that example there by Kermond, greater than that from Bradford carrying the ball. That needs to be redressed.
OK, let's go down to the sideline. Angela Powers is there with the half-time news.
Well, he's a man of few words, Brian Smith. He said to me, they've no complaints about anything except what they can't control, and I just couldn't draw him on anything else. That was quite a cryptic message, but there you go. From from the other side, from James Lowes, there was one word really that they were looking at, and that was patience. Just have patience here. Do everything that we've practiced in the week. Things will come good, but they've got to work for it.
High off the boot it goes from Jordan Tansey. This is a high towering kick, and they've allowed it to bounce. Mullaney allowed that ball to bounce. Oh, now Ferguson's knocked it on. He'll be furious, James Lowes. Absolutely livid.
Well, Eddie, Jake Mullaney in his debut season here, he does all the hard work. He gets to where the ball is going to land, and then he pulls out of it. Your job as a fullback is to jump up and pouch that ball. Don't look at the opposition players around you like you did on that occasion. You're putting your teammates under pressure. Dale Ferguson, it was left to him to try and get the ball, regather the ball, and then they make the mistake because Dale Ferguson, what he's thinking is, where is my fullback?
Well, James Lowes won't particularly enjoy this ground because he took charge of Warrington for the very last time here in 2009. They lost 22 points to 48. And at the moment, his team are just struggling to raise themselves for what is necessary over the next half hour or so. They're going to have to defend the line here because Scott Moore is scheming at dummy half. He finds Peter Godinez and he gives it to Simon, and Simon, the French international, drives it in to the 10-metre line. So far so good for Bradford, but there's still 4 in the bag as Godinez gets it away again to Mullally. Mullally, well, that ball hit the deck and it was a knock-on, and Bradford escape. Bradford breathe a sigh of relief, and it's massive. You can hear it from here.
Eddie again, Anthony Mullally's just crashed through a couple of Bradford defenders. Both of the players going low. They need to make better contact. Alberson loses Mullally up top, and then Syker, well, he's just clinging on for dear life. So yet again, it's another opportunity gone begging for Wakefield, but that's a let off for Bradford.
Wonder if Anthony Mullally is aware that his new boss next year, Brian McDermott, is in the stands here today, the Leeds Rhinos coach. Wakefield man, of course, but a Bradford legend. There he is, Brian McDermott. And Mullally will be playing for the Leeds Rhinos next year. He signed a 3-year deal with them, former Widnes man, and he will be, more importance to him at the moment, in charge of the Rhinos' bid for the treble at the grand final next Saturday. They need something special, Bradford. Blythe tried to provide it then, and he's struggling to try and get to his feet, or maybe get the penalty from the referee. Not coming. Scott Moore wrestles the man to the ground. Gets the penalty this time though, because Jean-Philippe Bale was fighting to get to his feet.
There was nothing special or spectacular about that. It's about a bit of energy, a bit of attitude, run hard, play the ball hard. And Bradford need to spend some time down here. There's only 12 points, 2 tries difference between the two teams.
Well, maybe they're excited now because they are inside the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats half of the field with Mullaney, and he cuts inside a couple, then loses his feet. Miller did well. Jean-Philippe Bale again. And Danny Addy will take it up the middle, trundling it down that centre ground. Bale once more, off the ground, he finds Harry Syker. Syker taking it to the line, that's better. This is Big Dane Nielsen. But Wakefield muscling up in defence, bring him down. What a chance for Bradford here. With Syker again. Now Lee Gaskell. Gaskell finds Patel. Patel gets the ball away brilliantly. What a try for Danny Williams. What a pass from Adrian Patel. I don't think Williams could even believe that had come his way. That's better, he'll say, James Lowes. Suddenly the white flag's gone down. And suddenly they're thinking maybe they can get themselves back into this game. They have with a try from Williams.
Beautiful stuff from Bradford. What an offload. That victory for Bradford against Lee Centurions a couple of weeks ago. The bloke right at the front of it for the Bradford Bulls was Adrian Patel. That's a pass and hope more than a calculated pass. He goes into contact, into collision, throws it where he thinks his defender or his attacker is going to be, and Danny Williams and the Bradford Bulls, they've got a foothold in this game at last.
Well, that makes my top 5. What a brilliant try. The significance as well, Eddie. You know, look at the difference in the body language now from the Bradford players. You commented a few moments ago, under their own post, they look dejected, dispirited. Here now, they've bounced back into their own half. The crowd who've travelled here to support them today have found their voice, and boy, we've got a real game on now.
We have, and all they need is for Danny Addy to add the extras here, and it will be game on again. A piece of brilliance from Adrian Patel. Now then, can Danny Addy match that with this kick? Big kick for Danny Addy this is. 22 goals in these qualifiers. Make that 23. Oh, only just!
Off the beans on toast, Eddie, they all count.
Do you know, he had to keep his nerve there, didn't he? It just snuck over. That man scored the try, Danny Williams. But what about this pass? I think this pass is absolutely pure class. And the more times this man, Adrian Patel, gets his hands on the ball, the better the chance of Bradford have got to go on and win this game. When they played against Leigh, quite right, like you said the other week, Barry, he was man of the match. He was the standout player. A tremendous performance on that occasion, and be looking to back it up today.
Well, that pass in the £1 million match was a 1,000,000 to 1 chance, and it came off. Now then, Paul Clough. Suddenly, Bradford have got a bit of wind in their sails.
Well, this set 6, you hear coaches talk about when we scored a try, let's not make those mistakes. If it's 5 drives in a kick, so be it. If it's a couple of drives, don't look to get overconfident as they look to shift this ball to that man, Patel, but I'm sure they'll be looking for a decent kick.
I wonder whether there'll be a point in the game when James Laws thinks it might be worth the gamble of putting Lee Gaskell out into the centres and Adrian Patel a little bit closer to the action to getting more touches.
Well, here is Gaskell. Takes the tackle, and it's the 5th tackle, so last one coming up here. Syker's kick is high. It's claimed by Armstrong, but Blythe in very quickly to cut him down.
And it was a brave take as well, that, because they were hurrying down the pitch from Nielsen in particular. He just missed him, but look at this now, the energy levels. After they scored a try, Bradford getting off the line, trying to intimidate the opposition. This is where they need to be clinical, need to be disciplined, don't give that penalty away to relieve these metres.
Simon will take it forward again for Wakefield. Now we've got a match on our hands. Scott Moore. They've reached the last tackle here. Good defensive set from Bradford this. Miller with the kick downfield. Will turn Matty Blythe around. Great kick. Blythe will pick up pace. And he takes the first tackle.
And I'm not so sure that whether I would take Lee Gaskell, put him in the centre. I'd probably look at putting Matty Blythe in the centre and moving Adrian Patel into the forward, so he's playing in that middle role. So they've still got Lee Gaskell, they've still got Syker, they've got Patel all around where the play the ball is. But don't, I don't know, substitute one for the other, because all 3 of those players can be the difference in this game.
I don't disagree, Tez. I think that first 40 minutes, they didn't ask enough questions, and both me and Phil commented on they weren't quite as efficient as they should have been. And it gets to a point in the game where...
oh, great ball! Here's Mulaney! Mulaney on the end of that Gaskell pass. Mulaney, he's got past the first defender, he can't get past the next. It was Tupu who brought him down, and they're scrambling back Wakefield.
Eddie, in a big effort from Jacob Miller to get back, to prevent that ball going to Lee Gaskell, otherwise that was a certain try.
Here he is, Patel, gets it wide to Syker. Syker further wide it goes, and here is a chance for Nielsen. The ball comes back, oh, it's all over the shop, and he touches down Matty Blythe. The referee's having a look. He's not going to give this without a reference upstairs.
This could be a try, this.
They've got a try on the field again.
I think it hits one of the Wakefield players, bounces forward off the Wakefield player, Matty Blythe puts it down.
Yeah, I'm with you, Barry.
And that's how the referee's seen it. He just wants confirmation, and why wouldn't he, with what's at stake of what's happening here? So that's okay from there. It's gone backwards. It's gone backwards again into Washbrook, which bounces it forward. So I think this will be play on. You know, the ball clearly goes back into Washbrook, providing the grounding's okay, which it is. That try should be confirmed.
Why doesn't Nielsen put the ball down on the first attempt? He looks like he's over the line already. There's the line.
It's definitely come back, there's no doubt about that.
This one here.
Pitts picks it up.
It's going backwards.
It is going backwards.
Yeah, is the grounding okay? There's nothing wrong with the first couple of things. Is that grounding okay? Yeah, it is.
Fine.
I think Bradford have fought their way back into a match that was desperately looking like it was slipping away from them. Matty Blythe, have you scored in the £1 million match? Yes, they have. Mark Green looks like he's passed out.
I thought he was going to throw Robbie Paul over the barrier then.
Duncan Preston there, the actor from Emmerdale. He is a massive Bradford Bulls fan as well. They're all here today to cheer this team back to Super League. They're 2 points off Wakefield with a kick to come.
Well, you'll always go through phases in the game where things go for you, things go against you. And when Adrian Patel, we were talking about him getting more in field, he does that. Good break here. You can see the effort from Jacob Miller to prevent the try initially, because the ball couldn't go to Gaskell. The ball then goes from one side of the pitch to the other. Adrian Patel goes in centre field. The ball comes wide, first of all from Clough, then from Patel. Saika at the line, Nielsen going really hard, offload the ball, no problem whatsoever. Matty Blythe goes in for the try to make a game of it here.
But James Laws last week, he questioned the character and commitment of his team. I don't think he'll be able to do the same this week. They're in this fight now, they give themselves a chance. Believe you me, many have thought about throwing Robbie Paul off the top of a very large drop.
Give him his proper title, Barry. He'd be very upset with you. Robbie Hunter Paul. But hey, we're in a £1 million match. This is a £1 million drop. Can he kick this one? No, he can't. Just shy of the posts. 2 points in it.
A good break, good execution, good conversion. We talked in the first half about Bradford's lack of ability to take advantage. They did, they made a break, they split the Wakefield defence in half, and it's Matty Blythe.
Try confirmed on the big screen for Matty Blythe. Remember last night at Headingley we saw a 40-20 brilliant kick from Kevin Sinfield, changed the course of history for the Leeds Rhinos. Has that pass from Adrian Patel changed the course of history for Bradford?
Well, it was a miracle pass and it could be worth £1 million. But Brian Smith, who's coached over 1,000 professional games during his coaching career, has just made a tactical change. He's brought Nick Scruton and Chris Anakin back on the field, Eddie. They were very impressive at the start of the game. He's hoping that those two forwards in the middle can tie up the Wildcats and turn the tide.
Well, the game is up for the winning now, and here come the Bradford Bulls once again with Danny Addy. Adam O'Brien is the dummy half. It comes into centre field to Saika. Saika, he just held on, didn't he? Somehow he held on. Jay Pitts. Gaskell high off the kick, off the boot of Gaskell. He's taken a tumble as well. Rhys Lynn's underneath it. Rhys Lynn did well to evade the first challenge that was coming his way from Addy. Couldn't get away from the next two.
But again, Eddie, I'll talk about that word. Urgency, getting off the line. When the ball goes up in the air, don't stand back, admire it. Well, it could be. Yeah, is there a penalty here?
And that came off the back of the fight from Rhys Lynn. When he collected the ball, he wasn't taken to the ground. That gave that little bit of fracture, that little bit of stress. And from that, it looks like Wakefield, it looks like they're going to react and respond. It'll be made easier if Bradford keep helping them down the other end of the pitch.
That's a good deep penalty as well from Jacob Miller. They start this set of 6:30 metres away from the Bradford line with Danny Kermond taking on his opposite number Dale Ferguson. Clough is there as well to help out. Moore, Simon, take it up the middle. He goes down, tackle number 2. Moore waits. Moore goes in centre field to Nick Scruton. Scruton with a solid run, still going, and then he eventually hits the ground underneath the shadow of those Bradford posts. Moore again, Moore to Miller. Miller then gets it wide. Tansey. That's good defence.
That's great defence, that. Nielsen gets underneath for Rundle.
And so Tansey to Miller. And here's Anakin. Chris Anakin gets the short pass away to Godinez. That was Scruton. Kermond flattened. Still back to Nick Scruton though. And Scruton down where all the heavy traffic was, goes down on tackle number 5. Plays the ball. Scott Moore then to Tupu, and they've been trapped. That would be the turnover. Solid defence from Bradford.
They were looking to run it on the last play, and Bradford, well, haven't they grown an extra leg since they've come up with a couple of tries? Absolutely brilliant. All the players getting involved now, defensively, offensively. Clough looking to find some space, not dominated here.
Good run from O'Brien. Along the ground he finds Addy, and then Addy gives it some width and finds Syker. Off the deck into the arms of Mullaney, Mullaney being chased down, again gets the pass away. But they're not making any ground forward, Bradford, on that move.
No, and they don't need to panic as well, Eddie. They don't need to pass the ball on to somebody else because the other players aren't in better positions than them. All you need to do, get back, get down, play the ball as quick as you can, see if you can play off the back of that.
And Nielsen goes down on tackle number 5, 40 metres away from the Wakefield line. He's into centre field to Syker. He turns it back to Gaskell. Gaskell makes a little half break. There is O'Brien, and here goes Clough. Clough puts the kick in, and it's easy for Tansey, and it's broken field for Tansey. And Tansey is still going. Jordan Tansey eventually is grounded by Matty Blythe. It's hearts in the mouth time here for both sides.
Eddie, and that's the experience that Jordan Tansey brings. He gets down, he doesn't panic, he knows that he's broke free, he's not trying to score a try on that opportunity.
Tupu. Good tackle by Patel, helped out by 2 more. Sidler was one of them. To Godinez. Simon. Straight at Danny Addy.
Eddie, there's a worrying sight about 50-60 metres down. Danny Kermond limping away in the background. He's trying to make his way back into the line.
Scott Moore gives it to Jacob Miller. Miller then finds Washbrook, and Washbrook scores for Wakefield. Danny Washbrook for the Wakefield Wildcats. And Michael Carter, well, he's as delighted now as his opposite number was a few moments ago on his farewell appearance. Danny Washbrook before rejoining Hull next year, and he celebrated that try as if his whole career depended on it. Danny Washbrook.
Well, here's where Bradford get up the other end of the park, and this is brilliant play from Jordan Tansey. Just have a little look at this here. He's not waiting around for any of his teammates to catch him up. All he knows, he needs to get down, play the ball. He doesn't panic, and this is the second try that Wakefield have scored close to the line where the defence has just been split. The first one was Anthony Mullally, and this one comes about from Danny Washbrook, again just hitting a good line.
Well, Jacob Miller cleaned up in the awards at the end of season function for the Wildcats. You see Michael Carter fist pumping, and it was from the pass of Jacob Miller, who his teammates, his team, his fans, his coaches all see as integral. And so far during the season they've had some tough days here, they've had to learn some harsh lessons, but because they've played against good teams who've shown them how to play the game at the highest level, you'd like to think they've learned, they've absorbed that information, and now under the guidance of Brian Smith they're producing some excellent plays.
For Jordan Tansey, he's been drawing deeply to try and get some air into his lungs after that run, and he's the man who has the kicking responsibility here to stretch the lead to 8 points. And he has managed it. So it's Wakefield 18, Bradford 10.
Already I saw Martin Clausen as we see Jordan Tansey taking a 30-40 metre break. and doing the exact right thing. So Martin Clausen, he's the trainer and conditioner for the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. His job is to get these players in the right condition, mentally and physically, to cope with the last 20 minutes of this match.
And that's where we are now, the last 20 minutes of the £1 million match that will decide which of these two clubs either stays or goes into Super League next year. And Barry saying that they see Jacob Miller as integral to their future. He, of course, has signed a 2-year deal last month. No doubt a Super League contract. What on earth would happen if Wakefield drop out of the Super League at the end of this? That's Anakin again.
He's been absolutely brilliant, and you can see why Brian Smith's brought him back into the side. He gives them so much. The go forward that he has, he's a little pocket rocket, isn't he? So strong and dynamic for such a big man.
Scott Moore.
He's followed him as well, Mikael Simon.
Yes, he's done everything that's asked of him.
Nick Scruton continued to drive the ball forward, lay that platform for Jacob Miller to come up with plays like that.
Nice kick. Nice kick from Miller.
Slow the tempo of the game down. Gives his teammates a nice nod. He knows they can take the time to the scrum, compose themselves, and it's Bradford who have to go 85 plus metres.
Eddie, when you look at the opposition and the halfback is talking like that, directing his troops and giving him a big lift, puts you more under pressure from Jacob Miller. He's played well in this game. There was a big responsibility in his shoulders with no Tim Smith, no Kevin Locke going into this big game.
Well, physical and verbal communication's a big indicator for everybody. The first thing you do when you're in trouble and you're tired is you go silent, your head goes down. And you're quite right, Tez, it's Jacob Miller. He gives a big clap. He's trying to get everybody going, and they have time just to compose themselves.
That won't help
penalty
them.
Away.
That will not help them.
Well, Scott Moore it was on Tom Alberson. He throws his body into everything, Scott Moore, and you can see he just ducks his head down. He doesn't look worried he's going to make contact.
Throws his arm into that one.
Yeah, he does. But because he ducks his head down, he's not looking where his arm's going, Eddie. That's what you call like hitting on suspicion.
So Bradford begin this set on halfway. O'Brien, and here comes Tom Alberson, another of the local products in this Bradford side. Addy to Syker. And Pitts hit the ball at pace.
Eddie, and you can see Adrian Patel just going into the middle of the park, trying to get his hands on the ball now.
Good run from Clough to the 10-metre line. Right wrestle on the floor as he tries to get to his feet. Oh, Patel wants it! Patel gets it! And has he got this ball down for Bradford? Well, I think the reaction of Jordan Tansey says he has, because Tansey is furious in the background. But they have a try on the field. I don't think Richard Silverwood actually saw whether the ball hit the ground first off.
And that's what it'll be. He was in a decent position, and you can see we had the ball held up for a while, but he's got it down there. That'll be a try.
And that's why he needs to get more involved and going around wherever the ball is, because he can come up with these efforts.
Adrian Patel. Try for Adrian Patel. And that's the fourth try in a row for Adrian Patel against the Bradford Bulls.
Well, they won't go away the championship side, will they? Scott Moore gives the penalty away. What about the work? Adrian Patel is not the biggest of players, and he doesn't have the right to run through three defenders. There's two forwards, Kermond, and Scott Moore comes in. For good measure, he has no right to score that try, but it's his determination to get his side back into this game that comes up with a try.
So tries in each of the last 4 meetings with Wakefield now for Adrian Patel. They're back in this. Danny Addy should add the extras, and we've got a quarter of an hour to go, and it'll be a 2-point ball game.
Well, I'm sure the try scorer will be thankful and grateful, appreciative of what Adam O'Brien, the man who created that opportunity, has done here in the centre of the field. Adam O'Brien could be the key to Bradford getting back in the remaining 50 minutes into Super League for 2016.
Yes, 2 points again is all that is the difference between the two sides, and I think James Lowes is feeling the pinch. He has been across ground like this before. The elder statesman of the coaches, Brian Smith, he knows what it's like to lose on big occasions, as I said earlier. Can he get Wakefield home? Can he get them over the line in the next 14 minutes or so?
When you look at the pressure that James Lowes, the Bradford coach, must be under, one of the most influential players in the early years of Super League. Was it 1997? He was Man of Steel, an absolute quality player in his time at Bradford.
The club has contested 6 grand finals. They've won 4 Super League titles, 3 World Club Challenges, 4 Challenge Cup finals. It has been some fall from grace, but this is the first step on the ladder to get themselves back into those lofty positions they hope, but they still have big work to do here in the last 14 minutes of the game. And when you think, apart from the likes of Lowes, there's Jamie Peacock, Stuart Field and Liam Price, Leslie Vinacolo, the Burgess brothers, I mean the list is endless, John Bateman, Elliot Whitehead, Luke Gale, Craig Kopczak, Joe Wardle, they're all former Bradford Bulls players. They're all operating in and around the Super League.
Yeah, saw some fabulous plays, didn't we? And when we used to line up against them, Eddie, talked about the awesome foursome, but the wingers were just as big as the prop forwards. They were devastating, Bradford, in the early years of Super League.
Tansey just manages to pick that up off the ground. Gaskell's kick downfield. Gaskell following his own kick up, gets the first tackle in with a little bit of help from Paul Clough. Godinez. And here is that man, Johnson.
And again, Eddie, that's a good sign. Lee Gaskell, talk about effort on efforts.
And Danny Kermon's in a right old state. I don't know how he's staying out there on the field. It's just sheer will and determination that's keeping the Wakefield skipper out there as he watches from the other side of the field as Simon takes this ball forward once again. Such a courageous effort from Kermon, but I think he's bowed to the inevitable. He comes off and Kensio comes on.
Again, Eddie, if you're a Bradford player, there's no Danny Kermon, there's no Ali Lauatiti. You're 2 minutes behind on the scoreboard with 13 minutes to go.
But look where Bradford have to start this next set, and they have an injured player themselves.
It's Jake Mullaney, isn't it? You see Nielsen saying that there's a bit of a head clash, there's a problem with him.
Sorry, Tez, that puts extra responsibilities. We see the catch from Mullaney.
Ooh.
One of those crusher tackles that doesn't look nice.
It's accidental though, isn't it?
Yeah. In the act of trying to tackle the player, he ends up almost with his head in his stomach, midriff.
There's no intent in that, but you know, in the same way, the players have to be aware of the way a player's going to the ground. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, it is. It's difficult to pull out with them, Stuart, because you've done your job. You get down there, you tackle the player, and it's very hard to pull out with that when you're taking the man to ground.
Well, Bradford know and Wakefield know that the next 12 minutes will decide their immediate futures. It's been a great contest. It really has. The £1 million match living up to its £1 million billing. And Gaskell goes for a long kick at 40-20. Does it have the legs? Does it have the legs? No, it doesn't. Tansey's over there to cut it off.
Look at that chase from Gaskell again.
He's a good player. He's a good player, the left winger, Tom Johnson, for Wakefield. He's going to be a great player in time.
Eddie, you talk about the desperation in both sides. There's lads here that if they lose this game, they'll wake up tomorrow, they'll be unemployed. They need to go out there and give it absolutely everything. You're talking about your families, your mortgages. You can't just sit back and just hope that one of your teammates do something. You're the one who's got to do the little things that will get you that result.
CO to his feet, plays the ball to Scott Moore. That was Danny Washbrook. Here is Anakin again. They're up to halfway, but they've reached the 5th and last tackle coming up. And Miller, they're pursuing him, but he gets the kick away just the same. It's a good kick too, over the top of Williams. Horrible bounce, even worse bounce. Williams needs to pick it up, he does, because there was 3 there, and they get to him very quickly.
Well, wasn't that a fabulous kick under pressure? Williams, well, it was bobbing everywhere. And then again, you can see that the Wakefield side trying to attack through the defence with Danny Washbrook. Probably need some of their outside back, some of the speedsters here, as Dane Nielsen goes in to get them going forward, target some of the big fellas.
Nielsen goes down. Addy to Gaskell. Gaskell finds Patel. This is the man. Can't get the ball away though. Peter Godinez did well, stuck to him like glue. Williams, and it comes to Olberson, then to Gaskell, high off the boot of Gaskell. A bit too far for everybody though, the chase isn't there. Yeah, it's easy enough for Johnson. We run this ball back now.
Well, Eddie, if you can't make when the ball goes up into the area of contest, you've got to at least find the ground. If you find the ground, you're going to get the players that all darting, trying to pick it up, and then that's when your defence can try and take over.
Into the last 10 minutes. Next try, next score is the winner.
There's some tired bodies, there's some players walking out on the feet. They know there's a lot at stake in this match, and you can't afford, as Tez quite rightly said, you can't afford to leave anything in your tank. I'm going to go back to Adrian Patel. He's got the key to this victory for Bradford.
Oh, maybe this fellow has Chris Anakin. Anakin is ploughing up the middle. Anakin is pulled down. Desperate defence from Milani. Here's a chance for Scott Moore to clinch it. And they've kept him out the other side of the whitewash. That will be the turnover, is it? Oh, hang on, the referee might have seen something here. Eddie, what's his decision on the field? No try.
Sorry, Eddie, I was going to say that they had the numbers on the right side then. When you have a break, when you concede a break like that, Chris Anakin, again, he's been absolutely fabulous. The ball needed to go right. If this doesn't get down, another opportunity, say it again, you don't get many, it's missed.
And who's in the frame there? Who's the player lending his way? Adrian Patel. He stops that initial break, albeit he doesn't make the tackle. Stuart?
I don't think there's any way that ball's got down, certainly from the decision. But you can't blame Richard Silverwood for just checking when there's so much at stake. I think this will be his call, his original call that the ball was held up, and we should start with a 10-metre play the ball to Wakefield.
It's not a bad place for Wakefield to turn the ball over.
It's not, Eddie, but they could have scored a try.
Bill Bentham, Rother Hicks agree with the on-field decision by Richard Silverwood. So they start from 10 metres out.
There was last tackle as well, so it's a handover.
Ferguson. Now then, Wakefield will be content to keep this Bradford team penned inside their own half if they possibly can.
Tell you what they could do with doing when they're down here. Maybe borrow Chris Anakin, put him in a Bradford shirt and send him the opposite direction.
A good metres forward by that man Patel again. O'Brien, and here comes Olberson to Addy, to Mullaney. Nielsen wide they go to Matty Blythe. Already got one this afternoon. It's a good cart upfield this though from Bradford. Jay Pitts upended by the tackle low down by Anakin. They've reached the last. Now then, can they force a repeat set? Can they produce something extra special? High kick looking for Danny Williams. Only finds Reese Lynn.
Well, this is where Bradford now trying up the tempo, work hard again, too quick. You can see the Bradford players not getting off the line. The play the ball's been too quick.
Bradford can't be disappointed that they haven't scored. They have to transition and focus straight onto the defence.
Godinez goes down, tackle number 4, still midway inside their own half. Wakefield, they might make some ground further forward here now with CO. They do, he gets them over halfway, reach the last, so the kick from Miller vital. Ooh, it's not the best, straight to Danny Williams. He follows up though and gets the tackle in. Oh, that could have been a
penalty.
That could easily be a penalty by Scruton.
Yeah, I agree, the tackle was complete, the elbows were on the ground, then the second man came in for Wakefield.
Well, it's do or die now. Do or die now for Bradford.
I think you just saw on that shot there that the ball wasn't actually on the ground when he came in, so he probably just timed it right.
But if his elbows were on the ground, that would have been a penalty.
Correct.
Ferguson for Bradford. No way forward for him. Plays the ball to O'Brien. O'Brien spinning. Ooh, he releases the ball, finds Gaskell. Bit of magic from the Championship Player of the Year, not on this occasion. Looking for a penalty, nothing coming. Last tackle here. Patel, high. Now then, what's the chase like? Oh, it's high enough, it's got the hang time. Did well, did really well. Did young Johnson over there.
Well, there he is, Phil. Well, not a good take.
He's a great player.
Only 20 years of age as well.
He's going to be a great player. I'll tell you what. Well, I'll speak maybe after the game.
You look shocked, Phil.
I'm so pleased with what potential he's got. You know, these two sides have played, Eddie, now for 2,474 minutes, and the next 6 minutes is worth £1 million to these sides. The next 6 minutes, you know what, you couldn't have dreamt for a better finish to the season in either the Super League or the Championship here, these middle eight qualifiers, to get down to the final part of this game here, just 2-point lead to the Wildcats.
And a chance out wide because it's arrived at your man Johnson again. Young head, old shoulders, takes the tackle from Jay Pitts, but they've reached the last here, Wakefield. Bradford are going to get it back in a moment, or at least they should. Kick to the corner, and they're content to allow this to run dead if they can. Oh, it won't! It will not run dead. How about that for a kick?
That's absolutely brilliant, that, isn't it? Well weighted, good chase.
They're still inside their own in-goal area, and they're not much further forward now with Matty Blythe. These are desperate times for Bradford. That was a wonderful kick for Wakefield. That was almost worth $1 million in itself.
Yeah, they are absolutely brilliant. You talk about game management in these situations now. With 5 minutes to go in the biggest game, here's Patel.
And here's Williams. They scramble themselves back into position, Wakefield. Patel again gets the ball away again out of the back door to that man Williams. Well, they've made good progress considering the first two tackles. They were trapped in their own in-goal area almost. Gaskell stabs it through and it will come back again, and it's play on. Is it 6 to go? Is it 6 to go? Doesn't really matter at this stage because it's in the arms of Sidlow. The referee hasn't wiped the tackle. Yes, he has. 6 to go. Oh, knocked out by Reece Lynn, was it? Big call coming here. Big call coming here.
There's a couple of things to look at here, Eddie. Was he squared at marker? Was it stripped?
I think
it's one-on-one.
I think he needs more help than just from the touch judge.
I think they're going to look at the play of the ball, Eddie, like I previously said. Was he set? Was he at marker? Was he squirt?
He's asked for help from the video referee, Stuart, hasn't he, I think?
Well, he's asked for help, but you know that's not part of the video referee policy for on-field decision. He's clearly not square when he comes in to make the tackle.
Yeah, this is a penalty.
It should be a penalty, but
it's against the rules.
It's against the process. You know, it is a penalty. It's clearly offside, but it should have been awarded on the field.
Is this 2 points now?
Silverwood, to be fair to him, had a suspicion it was right, and he couldn't get clarification from the touch judge. Doesn't it matter, Stuart? The main fact of the matter is we get the thing right, and that's what they've done.
Well, it probably helps him that they got the decision right, but the process is wrong. You know, we can't. Otherwise, we're going to be going back to look at all sorts of different incidents within the game. The policy's there for a reason, and it's there to, you know, make the referee make the decision on the field without referring to it. It is clearly a penalty. We've got to go back to that, but the process is wrong. You can't use the video referee to decide something like that.
I'm okay with coming up with the correct decision in such an important game when we're talking about
£1 million.
You're talking about not just £1 million, you're talking about livelihoods here.
Well, this is interesting because Bradford are taking a shot at goal here.
It's very interesting because if they get these 2 points, they'll then have to receive a kick-off. They'll be closer to their own line, and that does add some pressure just with the penalty.
And a possibility of extra time and golden point.
I thought the penalty was awarded further in than where the position.
Well, let's go to the video referee again. Is that what you're saying?
Well, he's been there once already. Oh,
well, there you go. He's moving it. He's just urged you.
I didn't think I was.
He's just urged you, Stuart.
Still, you see, Stuart Cummings still has influence in this game. Well, maybe that's why Bradford decided to take the kick at goal.
This is like one of those kicks at half-time in the Super Bowl, isn't it, where you can win £1 million.
Wow, this is...
And do you know, Eddie?
This is tense. Well, Danny, I tell you what, if I can't watch this...
You turn away, Eddie.
Will you tell me what goes on?
I'll tap you on the shoulder.
So, Danny Addy to take us to 18 apiece with less than 3 minutes to go. Has he ever kicked a bigger one than this? He's missed it. He's missed it.
Eddie, and by choosing to go for the goal, there's a minute gone off the clock. So now they'll probably only have the ball 2 set to 6. to get back in Super League. So that's the gamble, whether you score the 2 points, then you make a mistake near your own try line, the opposition scored a try, and if you don't, the clock is still ticking. And you can see Wakefield, well, they're not rushing it, are they?
The clock is held up though, you're right.
It is now.
And he's saying, Jordan Tansi's saying one set, defend this set, and we're back in Super League.
Yeah, 1 set, 1 minute's work, and Bradford probably looking at the clock. There'll be 2 more sets, 2 more times they'll have hold of the ball.
Well, Sidlow and Gaskell almost got in each other's way then. Clough with a charge down the middle of the field, but only 3 or 4 metres. Approaching the last 2 minutes of this game. Ferguson, they've got to... Oh, that's a great
run. They stripped the ball.
Stripped it. Got in there, stripped it.
Was the 2 men in the tackle there? Well, they picked Peter Godney out because he is one of the smallest men. I feel there was 2 men in the tackle. Here you go, there's 2 men, there's 2 poor fall off. There's Simon in there.
Well, I think he's broken the tackle. I think that's all right. 1-on-1. He didn't actually get part of the tackle. He got a hand on him, but he didn't fall off. He's broken the tackle, so that's okay.
James Lowes and Carl Harrison in the dugout didn't agree. Well, such things can decide matches. Oh, it's so tense here at Bellevue. It's the last tackle, and it is a charge by Scott Moore. It's a charge by Scott Moore that will take Wakefield back into the Super League. The try is given to Scott Moore, and Michael Carter, that's what it means to him, the Wakefield Sherman. There's no coming back for Bradford now. Scott Moore wins the match. In the Super League Dream Team in 2009, Scott Moore. This is what dreams are made of, and this is what heartbreak and nightmares are made of for Bradford. They are back in Super League Wakefield. The 4 Super League clubs have survived this middle 8 qualifiers.
Eddie, there's always going to be winners and there's going to be losers, and Bradford, well, haven't they played their part in this fabulous game? And Scott Moore, remember him making his debut for St Helens when he, as a 16-year-old, a fabulous player, an awful lot of talent, and that's just clinched it, hasn't it? Wakefield back in Super League in 2016.
And the man who scored this try, Scott Moore, has missed the last 6 games. He last played on the 9th of August. He was brought back by Brian Smith today to help win this match for Wakefield, and that's exactly what he's done.
Eddie, it's the experience, it's knowing how to get around the pitch, it's spotting that gap. He plays what he sees. Does he drop the ball? Does he ground it?
Yes, he ground it because his wrist was on top of it.
Oof.
And it hit the ground simultaneously with the ball. They've won it, Wakefield. They have survived the great escape again. 2001, 2002, 2006, 2011, 2015. This club has flirted with relegation and have survived. They are Super League's great survivors, the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats.
And poor old Danny Addy, who missed the conversion, look, he's heartbroken. Chris Anakin, I thought he was absolutely fabulous. And the sad thing is that, as I said, there's got to be losers. Bradford have been fabulous during the year. Everyone's been talking about Lee Centurions in the Championship. This Bradford side have been just going about the business. They got here, they earned the right to challenge, and I'm sure we'll see a stronger, a bigger, a better Bradford next year.
When we pick over the bones of this, and we will for weeks and weeks to come, was that the right decision by Bradford to take that penalty kick at goal from such a difficult position?
Well, either could have rubbed it. When you do and don't take the 2 points on offer, there's always going to be a debate. You trust the players on the pitch. But one thing I know that the Bradford fans and players, they will be content with, was how much effort the Bradford Bulls put in. I talked about James Lawes and how he wasn't happy with the white flags as we see the misconversion from poor old Danny Addy. They give absolutely everything. Every ounce of effort was put in by the Bulls and the players today.
Eddie, and I've seen players, and you can look and talk about Kevin Sinfield, some of the things that have made him into one of the best players in Super League. that he's missed conversions, he's not chose to go for the conversion. Danny Addy's a brilliant player. He's a brilliant player. He'll be better for that. Don't worry, lad.
Well, we say there are winners, there are losers too, and James Lowe's will be heartbroken as much as all of his supporters. He's talking to Angela Powers.
James, the word was just said, heartbroken. Is that how you feel about this?
I'm pretty much, yeah, I'm devastated. I'm devastated for two reasons. Firstly, we shouldn't have been in this situation to start with. I know I'm going to get in trouble, but I'm absolutely sick of it. You know, this shouldn't be how it shouldn't be how it happens. You know, in our game, it's a disgrace. And to lose a game on two major refereeing decisions of this magnitude is absolutely it's unacceptable. And that's what we've lost that game for that.
Which one are you talking about specifically?
A two-man steal on the ball there. In the first half, we had a try disallowed for no apparent reason. These are major refereeing decisions in a major game, which we shouldn't even be in anyway, because it's an embarrassment to our sport, this game.
It was one of those games where it's been billed, as you say, as the £1 million game, and there's more at stake than that in this, isn't there? There's livelihoods, as Terry said earlier.
There's all that, and it benefits the game with no consequences at all. There's nothing to gain out of it. So why are we doing it? Why are we putting ourselves in this position? Why are we putting these boys in so much pressure when we don't need to do that? And I'm just sick of it, you know. I'm sick of all this occasion today.
Can I just bring it back to this 80 minutes? It was a really tight game and a lot better game from your point of view than you had earlier on in the season.
Yeah. And again, we, both teams had a good goal because there's a lot at stake. We played well. We never gave up on the chase, and that's what makes it even harder to accept how we lost this game.
Thanks for being honest, Jimmy. Thank you. Jacob, another match, and that really did take every little bit of effort and nerve from you.
Yeah, definitely. We made it very hard for ourselves, but full credit to Bradford. They showed what a great team they are and very well structured, and I'm sure they won't be too far away in the few years to come.
They had a chance there to go for that penalty, which they did, but missed it. What were you feeling at that time?
Yeah, I was very nervous. I was fingers, toes crossed, everything, but thankfully we got the job done, and I'm just over the moon for this club because I think all the boys, we deserve it. We've had a tough year, but we stuck together, and I'm over the moon, speechless.
It's been a very difficult week as well off the pitch. How did the players cope with that?
Yeah, it's been a tough week, but we stuck together. We knew if we played our best footy, we'd win today, and thankfully it was enough.
Thanks very much, Jacob. We've got Ali Lalatiti with us now. Ali, your last game, and you'll remember this game for a long, long time.
Yeah, it was. It was a good occasion. I think the main thing we won, and all credit to the club and the boys, but also to Bradford. They played well and they took it all the way to the end. So all credit to Bradford too. Yeah.
You've been in games like this where you've been up for a trophy. This had a different sort of prize at the end of it, didn't it? It's livelihoods as well as chance to stay in Super League.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's more than a final. I think you just said it. It's people's livelihood. So I think there's more to it. And also, look, the crowd here. I think the people of Wakefield. I think they deserve everything. So all supporters been through the ups and downs. So it's all for them too.
After you finish a game like this, do you really want to give up playing rugby league?
Yeah, I know. I'm getting too old. So now I'm just happy that we got what we played for, and that was a goal for the whole year to stay up. So but yeah, all credit to the coaching staff and the club. I think credit to Brian for coming and changing things around. So yeah, just thankful and praise God for that.
Congratulations, Ali. Thanks for your time. Cheers. Brian, we've just been talking about what's at stake in this game. It's more than just winning a game and 2 points and staying in Super League, isn't it? It's more than that.
Yeah, well, it's not like anything I've ever been involved in really before. There's the promotion and relegation thing that happens in this country is, completely foreign to us, Aussies or down under people. What had happened today was just fantastic for our club, and I feel for Bradford because they've worked so hard trying to get back up. I hope they do next year.
It was also a difficult couple of weeks for you off the field as well. How do you manage to keep focus for a game of this magnitude?
That for me is not hard because I'm 61 years old. I've done a few of those sorts of gigs before, but it's a great deal of credit to particularly the younger guys in our team, but probably the senior guys are the ones who've held that together really well for us. Danny Kerman's return to play, Nick Scruton's leadership all year long has And young Jacob Miller, his performances throughout the course of the year have just been absolutely outstanding for the Wildcats. So we got what we wanted, we got what we worked for. We only just got it, but we'll take it.
Where are you going to be next season, Brian? You're going to be here?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure yet. You can tell that I've enjoyed myself. I've always loved this is 3 times I've been to the UK, and this Super League is exciting in its own right. It's got a brand that I don't think the people who own the game don't realise how good the brand is. But it's today is an example of what can be generated. We just need to do it more often.
You go and enjoy the moment. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. We now have the chairman of Wakefield, Michael. Wow, how are you feeling up there?
I've kind of been calm all week, really, and I think that's what's worried me, because you really can't do anything about it. But I've been pretty calm during the game as well. Thought a few things actually went against us, but hey ho, we've won, and I'm really pleased for all those fans that they've stuck by me and the club throughout the last 2 years. I think 99% of them get what we're trying to do here, and it's been really hard work. And I think tonight, we can take some satisfaction in getting a little bit of reward back, and I'm going to enjoy tonight.
I think you did hint a little bit about maybe he's not sticking around if you didn't stay up, but is this giving you sort of added momentum now to stay with the club and take it to the next stage?
I think I just need to take time to reflect, really. I said before the game, however the result went today, I think things have been tough and been hard here, and that's to the detriment of spending time with my family. Tracy and the boys are all here today, and my dad, and I think I need to just weigh up what's important in life, really. And it is hard work here. We do it all for free, and I think I just need to take time out, really.
Before you go, will you be trying to persuade Brian to stay here?
I think that'll be number 1 on the agenda. A few beers tonight, and I might just persuade him to get over the line. So, I think that's the first conversation we're going to be having. And we've made plans for the squad for next year, and now we can start to announce 3 or 4 of them. So, things start to fall into place for us now. But, see how many pints I can get down him tonight.
You can imagine how your opposite number would be feeling right now.
Oh, absolutely. I've just spoken with Mark Green and Robbie Hunter-Paul and Steve Ferris, and I've seen Jimmy before the game. Bradford have been real class here today, and I want to pay tribute to the fans that they've brought as well. They've made it a real good atmosphere here, and I've had my fallouts with Bradford in the past, and I've never made any denial of that, but them guys today have been pure class, and I'd like to thank them for what they've done today.
James Lowe's made a point that he's not a big fan of the £1 million game. How do you feel about it, bearing in mind you're on the winning side?
Yeah, I think when we put this concept together, there was always going to be pitfalls with it, and I think this is possibly one of them. I don't think we thought of the consequences on players, families, owners, staff at the ground. We'd have been looking at a pretty horrible Monday on Monday, and that's something we've had to avoid. We have avoided. So there are things to it that I think we might have to have a think about. But I think for the majority of it, sort of 85-90%, it's provided excitement. The Super 8s has been exciting, the Middle 8s has been exciting, and so there are things of it we've got right.
Go and enjoy the moment.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Paul Carter, the Wakefield Trinity Wildcat supporter. His players will enjoy the moment as well. And of course the big question is, will Brian Smith be back here for Super League in 2016? So all 4 of the Super League clubs have prevailed through this qualification process. They all went down, they all come back. There wasn't that much to talk about in the first half, but boy, there's a lot to talk about in the second. It's ended up by 24 points to 16. Wakefield have won. They go back to Super League. Bradford will stay in the Championship. Let's have a look at the first half. Barry and Terry are here to look back at that. First half, boys, not too much to talk about, but hold your breath. There's plenty to come in the second half.
There is, Eddie, and all you got to do is look at the way that Bradford started. Matty Blythe going in, thought he was going to get the opening try, but the opening try went to Wakefield, went to Danny Kerman, one of the standout players over recent years. He wears his heart on the sleeve, and a lot of the players on both sides give it their absolute all. When the ball goes up here, Johnson goes up for it, Phil Clark's favourite, gives the ball to Arundel. It's judged to have gone forward, but Bradford, they've never given up. You can see the efforts every time that they were challenged. They kept on standing up, and these were a couple of hits from the halfback. Saika on that occasion trying to lift some of the bigger forwards, knowing that they were out-muscled when they played here earlier on in round 2. They were took apart, and then the second shot come from Lee Gaskell. They were absolutely brilliant, Bradford. Across the board, they took the game to this Wakefield side, but Wakefield were the team that always seemed to be in control. A couple of things go against them, a couple of penalties that they give away, and it just comes to those mistakes, those penalties, playing with a bit of ill-discipline. This goes wide, they're back in the game, and Wakefield know that they've got to come up with some points. They go for the 1 point here just before half-time, just because they know that it's going to be close when it gets towards that second half.
Well, I guess when James Lowe's got his team in at half-time, he said, we're still in this game. We need to focus a little bit on what we're good at. And we talked in commentary about getting Patel closer to the action. What an outstanding pass. And sometimes they come off for you, sometimes they don't. On that occasion, it came off, it hit the crossbar, went in, and you thought to yourself, Bradford, this might be your day. A lovely break from Bradford here. And the impressive part of this was they didn't panic. It was a break, it was a chance, and instead of going for broke, they played the ball, and a beautiful piece of play. I initially thought that Dane Nielsen could have put the ball, but the reactions were good. Matty Blythe, he dabs it down. Mark Green, Robbie Hunter-Paul, the tension, the stress, the anxiety was everywhere in this stadium today. And when the big decisions needed to be made, players with the experience, Jordan Tansey being one of them, Scott Moore being another one, they stepped up. And what a way to end his career at this great club. Danny Washbrook, he gets over for a crucial try. How important was Adrian Patel, the skipper for Bradford Bulls? And I thought he ran so hard all day, Chris Anakin. He made a midfield break, got his side on the front foot, and Bradford's desperation, they didn't give up, they didn't give in. And James Lowes, he's a good mate of mine, James Lowes, such a passionate bloke. He's a little bit disappointed, he wasn't sure, he wasn't clear. And Danny had it, he had the game. This was to tie it up at 18 points apiece. And I don't think anybody in the Bradford changing room will point the finger at him. Scott Moore, he gets over the decider. Final score, 24 points to 16.
Well, heartbreak obviously for the Bradford Bulls, and James Lowes, their coach, has had plenty to say in the interview afterwards with Angela Powers. Obviously he has some issues regarding some refereeing decisions, and that's natural, Phil Clark, because every coach has complaints about referees every week, whether they're live or whether they are on the call and the nod of the video referee. But what he seemed to also be talking about and complaining about was the process in which we've come to this £1 million match. They finished fifth after the middle eight qualifiers. If it had been 4 up and 4 down, we'd never have had this match. They wouldn't have had a chance of getting to Super League. They were offered the chance, they've blown it.
I think what we've got to understand and appreciate that he's highly emotional and he's terribly disappointed with the situation, and I think you could forgive him for any interview that he came out with immediately after a match like that. I do really think that the decisions he talked about, a try disallowed, perhaps the Danny Addy one, which the rules clearly state if it bounces off your chest, it's a knock-on. So I think that he's wrong really on that one. Here's the ball here, thrown across now. I think 99 out of 100 referees in the Bradford Refereeing Society would probably say that's a no try. Those are the situations, that's the rules, that he's disappointed.
He knew it was a no try, he stopped. And then he makes
the one-on-one still. But again,
the 2-on-1.
That's a change of possession. You're not guaranteed that Bradford are going to score a try from that part of the field. Maybe it was a 2v1 strip. It's a 50-50 call. But it wasn't the difference between the match, and I think he's disappointed with the way the game's gone. From a rugby league experience, this was a great afternoon.
It was.
We've had a fantastic atmosphere and a highly intense game of rugby league with drama to the end. But maybe whether we think that in the long-term stability of the sport and for the growth and development of the clubs like Wakefield and Bradford, this is the right way, then that's something that he needs to debate with his chairman, and the chairman needs to debate with a wider extent of the game.
Well, exactly. If we'd have been in licensing, we wouldn't have had this middle eight process. If we'd have gone back a few years, there was the opportunity for all 4 of the championship clubs, and we thought Lee and Bradford would make a real go of it. Well, Lee have failed, and Bradford, at the last moment, they have failed as well. But I go back to the point, this was their opportunity. If they're good enough for Super League, they beat the team that finished 11 points adrift at the bottom of the table after 23 rounds, they get their place back. Other than that, they wouldn't have a chance.
I don't really know what to say to you there, Eddie, because I'm not sure what the question was in it, you know.
It's a point, really. It's not a question.
It is a point. It's a point I accept. Do you know what? If you get involved in sport, be it amateur or professional, you need to be able to win and handle winning, and you need to be able to lose and handle the disappointment of that. I guess he's just wrestling with that at present. Bradford knew the situation at the start of the season, so do the players. When they sign the contracts, they're aware that at the end of the year there could be a little bit of risk involved with their livelihoods in the future. Everyone's aware this isn't a new scenario. We've not just dropped on them a new set of rules at this point in the season, and it is difficult for players and their families and recruitment. You know, Wakefield fans here were nervous. I've no doubt there'll be half a dozen players in Australia who've had talks and temporarily agreed to join Wakefield if they won this game, who were tuning in live with their fingers crossed till the very end. It will affect a lot of people. The test for Wakefield is to not find themselves in this situation every year now for the next 5 years, to grow stronger, and that's difficult because they're now getting last pick of about 500 players who want to play in Super League. It's hard to get quality when you're given the last choice.
Well, absolutely, and it is now Wakefield's job to build and try, as you say, to avoid being in this situation next year. Where for Bradford, they're in the Championship. They finished the top of the 4 Championship clubs who went into this process. Jimmy Lowe is a man who wears his heart on his sleeves, hugely emotional, but they've got a bright future, haven't they?
Well, I think in time they'll bounce back and they'll be a top half of the Super League side within the next 5 years. It will take patience, a lot of hard work. It's easy sitting here saying that. Good luck to the Bulls when they've got to do it.
Indeed so, and good luck to the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats when they begin their 2016 campaign back in the First Utility Super League. Well, Saturday night football is coming next here on Sky Sports 1. It's Chelsea against Southampton. There's quite a lot riding on that one as well from the Premier League, and in 7 days' time there is a little bit riding on this. It is the Super League Grand Final. It's Leeds against Wigan. We'll be there this time next week at 5 o'clock on Sky Sports 1 for the biggest night of the Rugby League year. So there we are. It's commiserations to Bradford. They fought all the way, but it's many congratulations to Wakefield and the other 3 clubs who bounce back to Super League for next year.
Enjoy Sky Sports Live on all screens, on the go, and the best bits on demand.